I think we need to have a plan B of launching in January. I'm not saying that we have to change things right now, but I want to have a serious discussion about what the implications would be.
I'm saying to you, I don't have time for that conversation today. Changing the date, I think, would have cataclysmic impacts, because I think it would lose confidence and trust in what we're doing.
I mean, can we agree to look at what a scenario would look like going in January as a backup plan? I think it's negligent not to do it.
Pushing the launch date is a difficult decision. On one hand, having more time is valuable. And on the other hand, there are so many moving parts to a project like this that you move one piece and all these other things get impacted by it. There's also something about setting a goal and saying, we're going to do it, and making it happen and not compromising in the process to do that. Tim and I had another conversation the next day, and we agreed that possibly we do need to change the launch date. We don't like the idea of doing it, but it may be the thing that's necessary. But we don't have all the information right now to make that decision. And so where it was left was that we would let a few more things become clear, and then we would decide at that point what the right move is.
Filming for a little while now, and I feel like I have a pretty good understanding of cryptocurrency and ICOs, but I feel like our viewers need a little more information. Let's jump into this. What the fuck is an ICO, Alex?
Well, ICO stands for Initial Coin Offering. And an ICO, or a token sale, those terms are used somewhat interchangeably. And effectively what we're doing is we are creating a new digital currency. We are selling that currency into the marketplace, using the money, the proceeds from that, to go and build the platform within which you'll be able to use that currency.
What is a blockchain?
It's a ledger which is constantly updated, but the history is there for everyone to see. And what that does is it provides complete transparency in the path of how money is moving. That's the power of cryptocurrencies to disrupt or change a pre-established industry.
What is a min cap and what is a max cap?
Minimum cap is the minimum amount that has to be raised for a project to be funded and go ahead. If we don't raise $2.5 million, we don't believe we have enough money to bring the project to market. Therefore, we return the funds to all the people that invested. A maximum cap is once we hit that amount, then we won't take in any more funds at this point in time.
So you have a pre-sale and an actual sale? Describe to me what the difference is between the two.
The pre-sale is an offline process for people that want to invest a minimum of $10,000, and they get particular benefits by coming in early and by the fact that they're investing larger amounts. And then the public sale is open to the wider public. People within our public sale, you need to be a sophisticated investor or high net worth individual, and you go through a process of showing that. But that's open to anyone that meets those criteria.
Last but not least, the white paper.
So a white paper is effectively the prospectus or the document that describes the idea, why you believe the idea is important, your roadmap to bring that idea to market, who the team is behind the idea, and the details of your token sale or your initial coin offering. A good white paper explains it clearly, takes you on a journey, helps you understand the value, and when you read it, it seems sensible and realistic in the potential to deliver that project. We're just going to see Rory Sterling, who is a partner at BGF Ventures. BGF are a London-based venture capitalist, and Rory and BGF nearly invested in another company of Tim's and mine last year called Conscious Life. We just got on fantastically well with Rory. He's just a very incredibly smart, but also just very kind and warm, decent human being. So when we were putting together Giftcoin and we were just looking for people to help us shape the idea and to get feedback, he was one of the people we reached out to. And we had a really productive, useful meeting. And funny enough, at the end of the meeting, he said, you know, hey, you guys, given that you guys have, got a documentary company, why aren't you documenting the process? So it's partly because of Rory that you got an email, a phone call that night. Rebecca, come to London. I thought it would just be to go and see him and just really to update him in terms of where we are, but also just to get some of his perspectives on what we're doing and the ICO market from the perspective of a VC.
You've met a great deal of founders, and you've also worked with a lot of founders, and you've sat on a number of boards as well. What would you say to aspiring entrepreneurs in the blockchain world? What will be your advice?
So the same thing, when we first started talking about Giftcoin, I was incredibly supportive and of the direction you were taking, because it takes entrepreneurs like you and others in this industry to build and lead to mass adoption of new technology. And ultimately that's what we're all about. So I'm a huge advocate of what blockchain and the protocols we're building can do to the internet and to the world around us. And I would encourage amazing founders to push that forward. So I have no reservations in saying that. I think the other thing I would say to blockchain founders is, and this is neither advocating ICOs or not, but it is clear that a lot of money has gone into ICOs already, and ICOs and issuing coins doesn't only create a new funding mechanism, but it also creates a new business model for these businesses. So we're in a very unusual time from that perspective. So whilst the technology and the adoption of that technology and the products we're seeing as a result of it is still incredibly early stage, we're in this very rare moment where those entrepreneurs can actually raise funding to build that technology and those products, but they've also got a new business model in which to monetize those products and services, which is really exciting. Blockchain is the first thing that we've seen in a while that has the potential to be as big a technology innovation as the internet has been today. Wow. And I don't say that lightly. That we see new technologies all the time that we're incredibly excited about, but that just don't have the same scale. They're applications that sit on top of the existing stack that we've got today.
So one of the things obviously we're doing with our project is we're documenting and telling the story. And that's obviously your fault, because when you and I met before, that was one of your parting things you said. You guys have a documentary business. You should tell the story, and certainly that's been a fascinating process for us in terms of effectively being followed by a crew and being filmed. But what I also realised, and I'm sure this was part of what was in your mind when you suggested it as an idea, is we're trying to bring transparency to a sector in terms of charitable giving, but actually we're operating in a sector that doesn't have much transparency. And so trying to create that kind of openness has been fascinating.
There's actually three reasons I suggest it. A, I think it plays exactly to your strengths and you've had real success doing it before. But secondly, the real crux of the subject when you and I last spoke was, don't do an ICO because the ICO market's hot and because you can raise a lot of money through it. Do it because it's the right funding mechanism for your business. Do it because it's the right way to monetize your actual product or service in the future. We both acknowledge that there is a real lack of transparency around that in the market. So that's why I think you need to do this. And then the final piece is just around general education. I think this is an absolutely fascinating market. People will look back on this in 10 to 20 years' time and wonder how this process was unfolding, and here you guys are documenting some of it. I think that's awesome.
The white paper is on the website.
I've asked Andrew's our front-end developer, and I've asked him to put out the white paper, which is quite a big moment, I have to say, because it was a hell of a lot of work getting to that point.
Tim says it was a hell of a lot of work, but it was me that did the work, just so we're clear, Timothy.
It's really good.
Can I just hear that? Was that a compliment?
Yes.
A bit louder, so
it's good. It's really good.
What was that? Julian can't hear you, a bit louder.
Sorry, I can't hear you. It's shit. Yay. But it's quite a big moment. We get the white paper on the site, to be fair. It feels like we've sort of got to first base. I don't mean in a sexual way. I'm talking about Everest.
Sorry,
Base
Tim.
camp.
It's called base camp. That's the one I'm thinking. That's the one I'm thinking. Base camp. We've got the base camp.
Writing the white paper was, like a lot of these things, you go into it and you think, it's going to be easy now. We just got to kind of tell the story of what it is we're trying to do and put some information. But with the white paper, we wanted to demonstrate our skill and our capacity as entrepreneurs and as visionaries and as leaders. And that meant that it needed to be as good as it could be, as it possibly could be. And frankly, getting it finished was a massive fucking relief. Yeah, it was a good milestone to get to that point.
Hey, it's live. Let's put it live. I feel like we need to mark the occasion somehow. Trying to find some glasses in this off. Got sanitary pads, but no glasses.
I think that's the best option.
I think it's the only option.
You know, I find in business it's so easy to get fixated on what feels like the kind of the end point. But I've also really tried to learn to celebrate the moments along the way, and it's so easy. You have something like this, which was significant for us in terms of completing and publishing the white paper, and it's so easy to hit upload and then just go straight back into your email or straight into the next meeting.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers, guys.
Giftcoin. You have to chink. You have to chink, and you have to look in the eye.
We wanted to just celebrate that moment. It was a great moment, and you know, one of the things that's great being a team of people that you love working with is you get to share those moments together as well.
Thank you.